Oh god, run! It's the Xenomorph!
Actually, it's Evomorph, so legally distinct, okay?
Wasn't that a funny intro? Well, now it's time to get serious. Board and Savior is not the only thing that I do. There is a campaign running on Kickstarter right now for the Saga of Jack Jade. It is an audio drama about an 80s action hero, and it is the culmination of a ton of work. The link is in the description below, and if you checked it out and you shared it with your friends, it would mean a ton to me. Thank you. Back to board games. Welcome back to another installment of Board and Savior reviews every Final Girl feature film box and maybe some other things too. Today we're looking at Into the Void, otherwise known as Definitely Not Alien. Hey, I thought that was my name. A little board game humor for you there. What makes Into the Void unique? First, let's look at our killer, the Evomorph. The Evomorph goes on quite the journey in this game. It starts out as an adorable little hatchling moving slowly and instantly killing anything in its path. When it kills its first victim, it evolves. Isn't that fun? It's like a Xenomorph going from a facehugger to a chestburster. You're gonna hear a lot more excited alien comparisons, so strap in. After it transforms into a youngling, the creature disappears, leaving everyone on the ship instantly on edge. Now, instead of drawing terror cards, you will draw ambush cards. These tick up on the killer's bloodlust and create all sorts of other problems until the alien assumes its final form, the adult Evomorph. At that point, it doesn't matter how much damage you had done to the hatchling or to the youngling. The alien is instantly set to 10 health and lunges at you. From then on, you never know whether it's going to be a constant presence on the board, or if the Evomorph will slip into the shadows once again, ready to pounce at a moment's notice. It's awesome. So we know a bit about our beastie. What about the map? Into the Void takes place on the USS Konrad, a vessel full of shortcuts and secrets. At the start of the game, you'll get one key card, and you can collect more from around the board and amongst the location's items. These keycards can be used to grant you and your crewmates access to maintenance tunnels in the four corners of the board. These allow you to move around more easily, and most importantly, the alien cannot access these tunnels. This allows you to sneak past it or get out of its movement range, assuming you're playing things right. Of course, you can also use the keycards to turn the USS Konrad into a more dangerous place for you and the terrible beastie on board. You can activate the trash compactor, which will cause enemies and victims to take a damage if they end their turn within its crushing walls. You can fire up the incinerator, causing enemies and victims to roll a die when entering the furnace space, taking anywhere from 0 to 3 damage. You can also go for the win with the airlock and the self-destruct maintenance cards. The airlock, located in the hangar, can be operated from the hangar or from an adjacent space. When you open the airlock, everything inside, victims, the alien, and even the superloader, are blasted out into space. And then there's the self-destruct sequence. This activates a 3-turn countdown. If you're on an escape pod space when the countdown finishes, you jettison off the ship and watch as the Konrad explodes behind you, killing the alien and any crewmates left on board. Are those not the best things you have ever heard? Yeah, you can also fight the alien and whittle down its health, but who would want to do that? You can launch it into space! I am a big fan of thematic games. Whenever a game chooses evocative theme over streamlined mechanics, I'm pretty much always going to be in favor, personally, and this is no exception. All of the added rules of Into the Void, ambushing, evolution, key cards, they all complicate things, but they also make everything feel so much more movie accurate. I was a little worried when I read the rulebooks, the mini rulebooks for the Evomorph monster and for the USS Konrad location, that all of the added rules would fog things up, but they didn't bother me at all. When you couple these thematic additions with my favorite Final Girl rule, you wind up with some simple but very immersive scenarios. Toward the end of the rulebook, it tells you that you will occasionally run into situations where you'll need to break a tie. This usually happens when there are victims that are the same number of spaces away from the killer. Which way does the killer end up going? The rulebook gives you 3 suggestions, and it tells you to stick with one of these for the entire game. The first is the rule of infinite evil. And this tells you that you should resolve all ties in the way that is the worst. It has the worst outcome for you. Then there's the rule of never-ending hilarity, which tells you that you should resolve ambiguous situations in the way that is the funniest. And then there is the rule of abject realism. What is the most thematic or realistic outcome? Do that. In one instance, the Evomorph had victims 2 spaces away in opposite directions. In one direction, there was just a victim. In the other, there was an active trash compactor. The Evomorph is operating on instinct. If there are 2 targets the same distance away, but one is just right there and the other lies beyond a threatening sounding room, it's gonna go for the one that's just right there. That just kind of makes sense. And this is a little thing, but it does so much. When you choose to play in this thematic way, it forces you to picture your surroundings, to put yourself in the shoes of this killer, and it's just really special. In my first game of Into the Void, I got very lucky with my first 2 turns. I was able to keep victims away from the hatchling for a little while, long enough for me to find the superloader key, which is a key that lets you access the superloader, the vehicle associated with the USS Konrad. Once the hatchling turned into a youngling, I knew I had a limited amount of time to kill it before it evolved into an adult with 10 health. You see, as a hatchling and a youngling, the alien only has 4 health. Very doable, especially with the superloader key. Unfortunately, when the hatchling turns into a youngling, it vanishes from the board, leaving you looking to the shadows. I ran to the hangar, got in the superloader, and played an action card specific to the Evomorph killer. Scan. This card usually works by placing little X tokens on the board to signify the places that the alien can't pop into when it reappears. However, if you roll 3 successes on your die, then the alien instantly reappears in your space, and you get to skip the next killer phase. I rolled 3 successes, thanks to an action card that gave me a few extra dice to work with, and the alien appeared. I smacked it with the superloader for 3 damage, and then I ended the turn. With the time points that I had saved up, I was able to buy a fighty card. And then, because the scan card with 3 successes lets you skip the killer phase, the Evomorph stayed in the hangar. When the action phase came back around, I smacked the Evomorph again, flipped its final health token, and it was dead. All in all, a very successful first game. Only 1 victim died. Hey, did I hear something?
Yeah, bad news and good news. Tim got killed by an alien, but we squished that sucker like instantly.
Well, I never really liked Tim anyway. He always gave me kind of like synthetic sleeper agent vibes.
That's an alien reference.
The game went very well. A little too well, in fact. And it was fun to be that successful on my first time out, but it certainly wasn't a challenge. And I didn't want to pull my punches next game to make sure that the youngling would evolve into an adult. I wanted the alien to fight back a little, to be unpredictable, scary. My second game was different. Very scary. Ellen rushes around the ship, doing her best to get crewmates out of the path of the alien. Cramped escape pods prevent her from saving more than 1 victim at a time, but she still manages to launch a few to safety nonetheless. Things are going well, and the alien remains a slow-moving hatchling for 2 whole turns. And then, everything just falls apart. The alien kills their first victim, evolves into a youngling, and then instantly draws the ambush card that transforms them directly into an adult. Oh God, a manageable situation becomes terrifying like that. Ellen scrambles, moving around the ship, just doing her best to save crewmates and not dealing any real damage to the killer. Eventually, when she realizes that the endgame is here, she is staring down a monster with 8 remaining health, and she does not have the superloader key this time around. Hand-to-hand combat is sure to hurt her more than it hurts the alien, but she is crafty. She realizes that if she can lead the beast to the airlock, she can flush it out into space and kill it instantly. It takes a bit of careful planning and a hint of luck, but she pulls it off. As Ellen sinks to the ground, to catch her breath. She hears the Evomorph clawing its way back inside. It was able to grab onto the ship and crawl in through the central junction. As the Evomorph lunges into her room, opens its maw, and strikes, Ellen retaliates. She takes a bit of damage, but deals enough in return to finally kill the monstrosity once and for all. As the lone survivor on a once bustling ship, Ellen is finally able to rest. So that was an amazing gaming experience. It was tense, it was fun, and it was so easy to picture. In case you couldn't tell based on my overall demeanor in this video, I think this is such a great feature film box. I love all of the Alien movies, well, not all of them, but I love the Alien movies, and this winks at so many elements, and it really gives you the sensation of being Ripley, even more than Nemesis does. Side note, Nemesis is also a favorite here at Board and Savior. It is very thematic, but it throws a lot more aliens at you, so it doesn't wind up feeling quite as much like the original Alien movie as Into the Void does. Let's wrap this video up by highlighting a few specific items and abilities that I found extremely fun. The motion tracker. Whenever the alien vanishes and you scan for it, the motion tracker lets you roll an extra die. You can also discard the motion tracker whenever an enemy enters your space to move to an adjacent space, staying one step ahead of the Evomorph. A remote access pad. This lets you rearrange your keycards, which was essential for helping me win that second game. I moved keycards out of maintenance shafts and to the airlock card, which is what allowed me to blast the alien into space. A thermal visor. You can discard 2 action cards whenever an enemy enters your space to instantly draw a guard reaction card to your hand. This is critical if you're on your last legs. This also lets you discard an ambush card to draw another. I had to use it for that, as I drew an ambush card that would have killed me. Then there is the Vibro Claw, my favorite item in the game. Whenever you use a reaction card to reduce incoming damage, the Vibro Claw deals a retaliatory damage to the attacker. This really helps to whittle down the Evomorph. Those are the happy things. There are also bad cards that are terrifying when you draw them. All of the minor dark powers in the Terror deck are issues, but this one is a killer. The maintenance shafts are a great way to get around the alien unless you draw this card that lets the alien move freely through the maintenance shafts. Then this Terror card is just a fun one that shakes things up. Solar interference causes the ship to start malfunctioning, and it makes you roll dice to rearrange your keycard placement. Maintenance shafts that were once available become closed, and this may force you to think through your plans in a new way. I also particularly enjoyed the Acid Blood dark power for the Evomorph. Whenever you deal damage to the Evomorph in your space, you lose a heart. This means you need to stop doing little bits of damage and instead start planning on taking big chunks of health out at once, or you need to find a ranged weapon. Final thoughts? This box is a blast for any fellow Alien enjoyers out there. It encourages creativity and problem solving, and it does a great job of putting you in the shoes of Ripley. I also highly recommend putting on the Alien original score while you play for some extra creepy vibes. Score out of 10, you ask? 9.5. Every single thing makes thematic sense, and the new rules don't feel overly complicated, and come on, it's just really fun. Keep in mind that is a 9.5 as far as Final Girl boxes go. As you'll remember from my first video, I gave the Final Girl game system an 8. This game still has the problems that Final Girl does. You can have very lucky or very unlucky games that feel unfair either way. Like my first game of Into the Void, it was just way too easy, and that was disappointing. Then my second and third games were a lot tougher, with some unlucky rolls and some very lucky rolls, and you know, that's just dice for you.
If you like this video, please subscribe and give it a like. These videos take a lot of work to make, so your support really means a lot. Join me next time for something else. Maybe more Final Girl, maybe a hostage negotiator playthrough, or maybe something entirely new. Isn't it exciting not having a consistent upload schedule? I mean, YouTube sure loves it. Bye! See you next time!
I truly can't breathe in there at all.